Welcome to MacroCode. If you're new to this channel, consider subscribing. So today we are going to proceed with our video on ASP.NET Core MVC. So as you can see on our application, we have HR and payroll. So we have the employees list. Here you can see you have the employee number, the full name, the phone number, email address, leave balances, and the status of the employee. And you can actually see the employee details. So within HR and payroll, we also have holidays. You can see you can create a new holiday. You can also have leave adjustments. And here you can see we have the leave adjustments, whether they are negative or positive leave adjustments. Then we also have leave balances, and you can see the leave balances per employee. Then we also have the leave periods. So here we have the leave periods, the start date and the end date. Then leave types and the leave applications. You can actually create a new leave type. We also have the leave applications. Someone can create a leave application and they can send it for approval. So one thing is when you create a leave application, the leave applications needs to be approved. And you can see here we have the employee, the leave days they have applied, the start date, end date, the duration, and the leave type, and the attachment that they have attached. Then you also have rejected leave applications. So leave applications can be rejected. And if it is rejected, then you are able to either update and send it back to the approver. Then you also have system securities where we have the system users. You can see you can actually create a new user within the application and you can tie it to a role. So you can see we have the list of roles. So under security also you can be able to add new role if it is not there. And within these roles, you can also assign the rights. So you can assign the rights to these particular system modules. So for example, you can see under leave management, we have a submodule called leave types here. Then we can actually have a right for view, create, and delete. So this right can be assigned to users depending on how you want these to appear. So the next thing is system profiles. So this actually now gives us the list of all the system tasks and everything that is there within the application. Then we also have the system audit logs. So our application tracks all the activities within the system. So you should be able to know whether someone did something at a certain point, then you are good to go. So you're able to track that. So if you click view, you can see the details. We will actually be doing some UI aspect on our application, so don't worry about it. Then under system security, we also so that is it under system security. Under system administration, we have the approval entries. So these approval entries, we want to ensure that our application, leave applications, whenever you send it for approval, it doesn't only go to a single approver, but it can go to up to maybe 2 to 3 approvers. So that is what we have been working on our previous video. And if you're new to this channel and you have not watched our previous video, consider subscribing to our channel and also watch our previous video and see where we are. So this is actually a continuation of the video that we did previously, and we'll be trying to improve what we had not done. So under workflow user groups, this is where we are now defining the workflow user groups. So here we are creating a workflow user group. We are providing the code. For example, this may be finance. Can say, let's just say this is HR. Can say HR leave. So these are all people within HR leave applications. So if someone in HR sends leave for application, you can say this is you can see we need to create a department for HR. So you can do that under departments. So I'll just open it in a new window. So I can create a department. I can say this is HR. Can call this is HR and payroll. So actually we need to remove this and this and this because this is what this should be added within our application. So I think there is something we need to do that. For now, let's just create another test workflow user group. For example, let's create for ICT. So within ICT, let's say we want to create a salary advance, and you can call these also salary advance for those who are in ICT. So if we create that, then we tie it to the department, then the document type will be salary advance. And if you create it, then you'll be able to see that we have now salary advance, which is a workflow user group. And within this workflow user group, you can actually assign approvers. So these approvers, you need to create members within that workflow user group. So you will choose the workflow user group, which is the salary advance. You indicate the person who will be sending, for example, it is Obadiah, and you indicate the approver. So the first approver, this one you're now kind of creating a workflow user group members. So that is the first approver. You can create the second, you say maybe the same person. If the same person sends for salary advance, the second approver should be Lena, then you can do 2. So that is the sequence. And you can also do, so for example, here now, let me just filter for salary advance. Salary advance, you can see we have the salary advance. This is the same sender, but we have the approver as John Kamau Karanja. The sequence, this is the first approver. Then you also have the same person. This is the second approver. And we can now add the third approver. So this will be the same person doing, then this is the third. So for me, I've actually done it at the employees level or the user levels. But you can also do at a group or departmental. So it depends on how you want to achieve that. So this one I'll just do, if you see a salary advance now, we have the same person, Obadiah, but the approver there, John, Lena, and Purity. And you see the sequence is 1, 2, 3. So what we are going to do now, we created something called approver user matrix. So the approver user matrix is, we need now to tell our application that whenever Obadiah sends a document for leave application, it should actually use this workflow user matrix, this workflow user group, and you can see we have the status, whether it is active or not. So I can also create another one, and I can say whenever Obadiah sends a salary advance, it actually needs to use the salary advance user group, and this should be active. So if I do that and create, then we shall see we have now a user group, a user called Obadiah. This is their workflow for. This is their workflow for salary advance. And you can see here we have Obadiah again with their leave application document, and this is their workflow for leave applications. So I want us to test something. So if we go to our leave applications, I want us to create a new leave application. But when you create a new leave application, this leave application will be automatically change status. So let's just go back to our code and see what we need to do. So for those who are watching this video and you have not subscribed, please consider subscribing, like our video so that you also help us to reach more people. So I'm going to our leave applications. So if this is our controller, so under create, so this is our create action. So you can see we are able to take a document, and we are now creating the leave application here. Everything is okay. So what I want us to do, I want us, whenever you create a leave application, we need to generate an entry, an approval. We need to generate an approval entry. And this approval entry is what will actually join to our, if we go back to our system administration, there's something called approval entries. You see these approval entries, we need to know the record ID, the record that you send for approval, the document type, whether it was a leave application, the sequence of approvers and all the approvers with the status of the document at their desk, the date you send for approval, the last date it was modified by the approver or you, then the person modified the comments, and you can actually view that particular document. So what we need here is we need now to assign values to our, so I'll just say approval entries. So this one I'm just doing it so that you see. So I'll just say new approval entries, approval entry. So if I just do approval entry, So I'll just do that, and we can do this. So within our approval entries, what fields do we need? So within our approval entries, we need the record ID, we need the document type, we need the sequence, we need the approver, we need the status, and we also need all these data to actually feed into our approval entries. But first things first, before we do that, we actually need to know the workflow user group for this particular user who is sending the document for approval. So to get that, remember we have under system administration, we have something called approver user matrix. So this approver user matrix, we need to get that. So I'll just say workflow. So I'll just do variable and say user group equals to await underscore context dot approval user matrix. Then we say dot where. So I'll just do x dot just do that. Then we can do this. Then we can say x dot user. So this, you see this user ID, we should actually use this user ID. So our user ID, remember our user ID is the person who is logged in, and you can get that from here. So I'm going to say where user ID is equals to user ID. So that is my user ID, and I've actually defined it here. And also, one thing that we need to know is we need to know the kind of document. So the kind of document here is the leave type. So I'll just do here variable document type. Document type is equals to await underscore context. Then I say system code details dot include. So I'll just do dot include. Then I'll just do x dot system code. So I'll include that. Then I'll say dot where. I'll say x dot system code dot code. So we need to get only the document type called leave application. So here, if we go to our database, we need to see the kind of code that we are using. So the kind of code that we are using is actually leave application. So this one will just do here leave application. And this one will actually give us, we need to take the first or default. So that is what we need to take. So this one will now give us the document type. And on our approval user matrix, we need now to take the approval user matrix of this user, because this user can have different document types. So we'll just say and x dot document type equals to this one. Sorry. So this one should be equals to document type dot ID. We need to take that ID. And one thing that you need to know is, so here we can do, why is this? So it says, so here you can do first or default. So you can do that as well. So if we do that, then we will have our approval user matrix. So this approval user matrix contains some items. One, it contains the workflow user group. So if you come back here, you see that under approval user matrix, we have the document type is leave application. The workflow user group is ICT application user group. So if we get the ID of this user group, ICT leave application user group, then we are able to go back to our workflow user group, And we can actually get under ICT, we can go back to as approvers, and we can get the workflow user group with the sender. The sender is this particular guy. So we are able to get that. So to get the approvers, we can now say, so we'll say variable approvers. So this is now the approvers. So I'll just do await underscore context. Then I say approver. So this is workflow. This will be workflow user group members. So we are now getting the approvers. So dot where. So we want to get all the approvers for that particular document. So we'll say x dot. So here we know the workflow user group ID. So this will be equals to this workflow user group here dot ID and so we need to get also not only the user group that person falls in, but also if you go back to our user group, we can tell the sender. So we need to say and the sender. So we need to say x dot sender ID equals to the person who is logged in. So this is the ID. So if we do that, here we can now do to list async. Remember here we now have all the approvers. So we'll have all the list of approvers. So one thing to know, so all these approvers, we need to now track them. So I'm going to do for each, I'll just do for each approvers in, so I'll just do for each approver in approvers. I'll take, so these are the, so let me just go back here and say the approvers. And one thing to note is under approver user matrix, if we go back to approver user matrix, we need to take only the active matrix. So someone can change the matrix. So here we need also to add one thing. We can say and, sorry. So let me just zoom this so that we are able to see. So I'm going to say and x dot is active. You can do active equals to true. So we need to take only the active one. So once we get that, we are able to get now the approver user matrix, workflow members, that is the approvers, and we are able to take the sender. So the next thing that we need to do now is actually to loop through these approvers. And whenever we are looping, we need to generate the entries. So that is now where our application will go. So within this, we need to say approver ID. So here, within our application now, our approver ID equals to the approver here dot approver ID. Then the next thing that you need to say is the sender, a date sent for approval. We need to say date time dot now. Then the next thing that you need to say is last modified on. This one we can say date time. This is when it was inserted. Can do now. Can also do last modified by. So this is the person who actually sent. So this we are taking here the sender. So this is the sender ID. So this is the last modified on. That is the date. Then here we need to take the record ID. The record ID is actually the primary key of this table, of the table that we've inserted, and that is the leave application dot ID. So that is the primary key of of the record that we are sending for approval. Then the document type ID, we need to tell which kind of document is this that was sent. Remember, we are getting our document here, so we can do .id. Then the next thing that we need to do is within our approval entry, what other thing do we need? We need the sequence. We also need the status of that particular record. So the sequence here, we need to say the sequence. The sequence ID, we get this sequence from our approval matrix. So we say this is the first approver. So I mean, we need to get all the sequences. Then we also need to get the status of the record. So the status of the record is whenever we send anything for approval, we need to assign it a status. One, the status that is here, you see it is awaiting approval. But now I want us to do something. On our approval entries, you will see we have three. Let me just go back. On our approval entries, we have, so here we'll have the status. So let's just have one thing here. So a status here, I want us to do status called open status. So that means it has not been actioned. Whenever we send anything for approval, let it just be status open. So, or we can have it as awaiting approval. So let's just do that. You can say awaiting approval. Awaiting. So this is awaiting approval. So then we'll now have our status ID here. So that is where we'll have our status ID. So what other thing do we need to track under our approval? So we have our record ID, the document ID, the sequence approval ID, the status, date sent for approval, last modified on, last modified by. Have we added that? Last modified on, last modified by. Then we have the comments. So here we say approval ID, we have that. So the comments here, let's just go back. So we can now do comments. So our comments here, we can actually do, we can say sent for approval. So this is the first time this is being sent for approval. So one thing that you need to know is each of these entries that we see here needs actually to create an entry within our approval entries. So we need to actually do this. We need to save here, and I'm going to remove this return. It will actually return after we have done everything. So you see here, this is, let me just remove this. Sorry, this should not be here. I'm going to remove that and do it here. So once I have that, then I can do this. And you can see these now, we need to have these as approval entries, and we need to save. We need to save these approval entries. This return should not be here, should be outside the loop. So let me just do here. Let me just do that. Let me just do that. Let's also, let me just do this. Yeah, or you can remove this. So let's just remove that. Then after doing everything, just return us to index. So after doing that, so you see on this one, we are doing a loop. So every time we loop, even if you have 50 approvers, it will actually loop here and create all the entries. Remember, all those entries needs to be actioned. Every approver has to have their own entry and they need to see that particular. So we'll be doing a video on how now we control those approval entries. So for now, after this is done, it will be creating all these approval entries and we need to do that. So let's just start our application and try to create, let me just put in a breakpoint here and try to create a leave application. Then whenever we just create our leave application, it will actually send that leave application for approval and it will create approval entries with all our approvers that needs to approve that particular leave. So if you're new to this channel and you are watching our videos, consider subscribing, like our video, comment down below, and you can actually share our video in case you have anything. Don't wait, you can comment down below and we will be ready to respond. So I'll just do here login, then I can log in here. So if I log in, we can now go to leave application and I'm going to leave applications and I can create. So I'll just choose here. So the sender, the employee name, I'm going to use my login account. So which is, let me just see here. Let me just choose any. Let me just choose any for now. And I think that means we need to change how we are checking that. We need to see the person who is actually sending the leave application. So I'll put in the date. You can put in, so this is not yet validated, so don't worry. We'll be doing that in our next video. So I'm going to choose my document. So you can see I have some screenshots here. So if I click save, so we need some notes. You can say these. So there's something that has happened. So let's just go back to our document type here. This could be the. So let me just go back. As our leave application been created, you can see we have our application created. So that means we have a challenge with our. So let's create another one. So I'm going to create another one. Can do that. Then I can also attach a file. Then you can say, so if I create, we need a breakpoint. Yes. So we need to know whether we are getting this important information here. So there's something that is giving us a null. So if I do that, do you have the document type? That is where the challenge is. So we need to ensure that we are getting the document type. So you see system.include, then here system.code. So the system. So this one should be system.code. Let me just see what is the code there. Is it leave application or it's something else? So it is actually leave approval status. So this is you see this is the. So we should actually, let's just use this. So we can actually use as include dot where the code system.code is equals to leave application. I think that is the, no, this should be leave application approval status. And we say, so then this leave application approval status, we need to get the specific document. That should be the document type actually. So the system codes there should be, let me just check. Yes, this should be document. So let me just undo so that you see what we did wrong. So let me just do that. So this here, we should actually be having system.code is is document type. So I'll just do here x dot system dot code. This one should be document types, and then we say and because we have so many document types, we need to get the exact document type that we want. So we'll need here, so we'll say where the system.code is equals to documents type and the code is leave application. So this one will give us the exact leave application. Then the same thing that we did here. So this is the approval status, that's okay. So let's also try to create another one. So I want us to see how this will flow. So here you should also ensure that we do the validations and check if whether someone has been assigned approval user group. You can actually do that validation. So let's just launch our app and see. So for those who are following this video and you have not subscribed, we notice 90% of you guys are watching our videos and you've not subscribed. So if you're one of them, please click that subscribe button and you'll help us to reach more people. So if I just go to leave application, I'm going to create new. Then I'll just select employee, give the days, start date, end date. So this is the end date, the leave duration. I choose the file. So if I just do that, then here I can do notes. So if I save, you can see under leave, that is the document type. We have our document type, which is the kind of document that we are dealing with is the leave application. The system, here you can see the person who created all the information. Then the next thing that we need to know is the user group that this user has been mapped. So if we just step, we have the workflow user group, you see. So the workflow user group that this user has been mapped is actually here, and it is actually named. So let's just check on the description. Do you have the description? We did not include the group ID, but that's okay. So if we go next, we should actually get the approvers. So there we go. We have the user ID and we have the user group ID. So if we proceed, we should get, there we go. So we don't have the approvers. Why? So we need to know here which user group are we using. So here, workflow user group, where did we user group? So this is the user group. We've gotten the user group from here, workflow user group ID. And this workflow user group, we've taken the document type, which is the leave application, and it's actually active, and the sender is that. So this one will give us the first user group. So if we go back here, we need to get the, so the user group here is ID is 1002. Then the sender is this person. So do you have any approvers? We don't have any approvers. Why? Let's just check our database and check why we don't have the approvers. So one thing is we need to get, so let's just select star. So select star from our workflow. So this one should be approval user matrix. So under approval user matrix, you see this is the record that we've just gotten, and our ID, our user group ID. Yeah, we have workflow user group ID as 2. Then let's just see, there's something here going on wrong. You see the user group ID, where are we getting this? the user group ID is that, then yes, so I think that's okay. The user group here, the user group, I've seen. We are using the ID here. You see, we are using the ID instead of using the workflow user group ID. So here the workflow user group should be the workflow user, that is the user group dot user group ID. So this should be a workflow user group ID. So that's the case. So let's try to relaunch again. I was wondering, so let's just see within our workflow user group members, we need to see where workflow group ID is equals to, you need to say where that equals to 1002. So if we select that, let me just, sorry, let me remove this. So let's see what is here. So what is here is, we have, yeah, I think we were right. The workflow user group ID will be the ID. So this one should be the ID, I mean. You are right here. But now here, let's try to relaunch and create again. So this is a bit confusing, but you are going to get it. So let's just relaunch. So we have our sender. You see, we have the sender, which is the same person, and we have the ID as 2. Then we have, so let me just see here, workflow approval user matrix. So if we do that, we have the user ID is this one. The workflow user group is this one. And the document type, yes, we need to ensure we tie that to the document type. So we have the user ID, that's correct. Then you have the document type, that's correct. Then status, whether it's active, that's correct. But now we missed something. I see now. We missed something on our approver user matrix. So this approver user matrix, we need a workflow user group. So to get the workflow user group, we've actually gotten the document type, whether it's active, and the user, then we are getting that. That's okay. So we have our workflow user group. So let's just see how this goes. So I'm going to log in. So if we sign in that, so then I'm going to create another leave application. So those are the ones that were not sent for approval. So I'm going to, we need to ensure that this is sent for approval. And we'll also have a button in case you want to resend it. So let's just do that. Then if I click save, so let's just go back here. So we have our user ID, we have our document type, and our document type indicates that the ID is 2016 and it's active. So if we do that, let's just confirm so the ID is 1002 and the workflow user group is 2. So if we go back here, you see this is the approval user matrix and the workflow user group is 2. So if we do that, that's okay. So then we go to approval statuses. So this is a waiting status. So that's okay. So for the workflow user group members, let's go there. For the workflow user group members, we need a workflow user group with ID 2 here. And you see, our ID is 1002. But here, the workflow user group should be here. We should be using the workflow user group. That's where we messed. So this is where we have the workflow user group, which should be 2, and the sender is that. So we need to relaunch again until we get it right. So the workflow user group ID should be, that is what we should be able to retrieve, and the sender ID. So anything that you are using and then the matrix, nothing. So you just need the workflow user group and the sender. Then we should be able to know the approvers. So let's launch again. So I'm going to do that. Then I'm doing admin. So if we do that, let me just confirm if that's correct password. Yes. So I'm going to create another leave application. Just do that. Then provide the details, the date, start date and end date. And then I can do here, choose document. Then I can actually save the notes. So there we go. So let's just see. We have the user group. There we go. Now we need the user group with ID 2, the sender with the person who is logged in, and we need to get all the approvers. So we now have all our approvers. The approvers are 3. So we have the ID, the first approver, the second approver, and the third approver. And you can see we now have the ID, the sender, and the sequence. And we have the workflow user group. So we now need to loop through. Let's just confirm. If we go up to there, in our approval entries, we now need the approver ID, the comments, date sent for approval, the document type, the last modified by, the record ID, the sequence ID, and the status ID. So if we proceed, so it is actually looping. And you can see it has actually looped. So if we go back to system administration under approval entries, you'll notice that we have our approval entries. So what does that mean? You'll see that we have this record ID. It is the same ID, 2024. Document type is leave. The sequence of approval is this one. The approver is John. And the status here we need to change to display the description. The date it was sent, the last modified it was modified by, and the comments. So that is where we are going to leave it today, guys. So if you're watching this video and you'd like us to continue with this series, like the video, subscribe, and see you in our next video. Bye.